All right, let's talk about CAP protocols. They can feel like a maze sometimes, right? Especially when you're in training. So today, we're going to break down one you are absolutely guaranteed to see, the protocol for tumors of the endocrine pancreas, or PANNETs. Think of this as your practical guide to nailing it every single time. Okay, let's jump right in.
First things first, and this is probably the most important decision you'll make, are you even using the right protocol? It's simple. If you've got a well-differentiated neuroendocrine tumor, that's your grade 1, 2, or 3, yep, you're in the right spot. But if you're looking at a poorly differentiated neuroendocrine carcinoma or one of those mixed tumors, you need to stop and grab the pancreas carcinoma protocol instead. Seriously, getting this right from the get-go is everything.
So, here's the game plan. We're going to walk through this just like you would in a real case. We'll start with the basics of the protocol, then look at the clinical info and what to do at the grossing bench. From there, we'll dive deep into the microscope work, the typing and grading. Then we'll figure out how far the tumor has spread, and finally, we'll put all those pieces together for the final stage.
So, let's be clear about when you actually pull this protocol out. This whole thing is really designed for the big resection specimens. You know, your Whipple procedures, your distal pancreatectomies. It's generally not meant for small biopsies because you just won't have enough tissue to answer all the questions needed for a complete stage.
Okay, before you even think about putting a slide on the stage, there's a ton of information you need to gather. The clinical history and what you see on the gross exam are like the opening chapters of the story. These clues are absolutely essential to get the full picture. Let's dig into what you need to look for.
The clinical chart is a gold mine. If you see a genetic syndrome like MN1 or von Hippel-Lindau, your antenna should go up immediately. You need to be looking for multiple tumors. And is a tumor functional? That's a huge clue. An insulinoma, for example, makes so much insulin that it causes symptoms early on. That means it often gets caught when it's smaller and less aggressive.
So you're at the grossing bench. Job number 1, figure out exactly where this tumor is living. Is it in the head of the pancreas, the body, the tail? And this isn't just for description's sake. It directly impacts staging and tells you which lymph nodes you need to be hunting for.
So how do you define those zones? Well, it all comes down to the big blood vessels. As you can see here, the head is everything to the right of where the superior mesenteric and portal veins meet. The body is kind of sandwiched between that point and the aorta. And the tail, that's everything else stretching out towards the spleen. Nailing this location down is your first big task.
And while you're there, get your ruler out, because size matters a lot. There's a key cutoff, 3.0 centimeters. Tumors that are bigger than that just tend to act more aggressively. They have a higher risk of spreading. It's such a simple measurement, but it carries huge weight for prognosis. All right, now for the fun part. Let's get to the microscope. This is where the magic happens. We're going to figure out the tumor's true identity through histologic typing and, most importantly, grading. This is really the heart of the pathology report.
This table is basically your cheat sheet for grading. It's all about figuring out how fast the tumor cells are dividing. And we measure that proliferative speed in 2 key ways, by counting the mitosis and by looking at the K67 index.
Now for the mitotic count, you've got to play detective. You don't just count in any random spot. You have to scan the slide and find the hot spot, the area where the cells are dividing like crazy. Once you find that spot, you count the number of mitoses in a 2 square millimeter area. This makes sure you're reporting the tumor's worst-case scenario, its maximum growth potential.
Our second tool is the K67 stain. And the principle is exactly the same. This stain lights up cells that are actively in the process of dividing. So again, you're not just getting an average. You scan the slide, find the hot spot with the most brown staining nuclei, and you report the percentage from that area.
Okay, this brings us to a classic problem, and trust me, you are going to run into this. What do you do when your mitotic count says it's a grade 1, but your K67 comes back hot, putting it in the grade 2 category? Which one wins?
So what's the verdict? The rule here is super simple, and you have to remember this. You always assign the higher grade, no exceptions. If the mitotic rate and the K67 disagree, the higher grade takes it. It's a clean, simple rule that keeps you from undercalling a tumor's aggressiveness.
Okay, so we've got the grade. We know how aggressive this thing is. Now, the next big question is, where has it gone? It's time to map out its local spread. That means checking for invasion, looking at the margins, and hunting for any involved lymph nodes.
When you're looking down the scope, these are the red flags that tell you the tumor is on the move. Has it busted out and grown right into the duodenum or the spleen? Is it sneaking into blood vessels or lymphatics, what we call LVI? Or is it wrapping around nerves, using them like a highway to get out? All of these are bad news. And of course, the margin status tells the surgeon if they actually got it all.
Speaking of margins, for tumors in the head of the pancreas, this one right here, the retroperitoneal or uncinate margin, is the one to worry about. It's a notorious spot for positive margins because of how it's dissected. So you have to be extra careful with your inking and take plenty of sections to evaluate it properly.
Now, let's talk lymph nodes. And here's something really important to get right. The term regional isn't one size fits all. It completely depends on where the tumor started. As you can see, the nodes that count as regional for a tumor in the pancreatic head are totally different from the ones that matter for a tumor out in the body or tail.
Okay, deep breath. We've done all the hard work. We've got the tumor's location, its size, its grade, and we know if and where it has spread. Now it's time for the grand finale, putting all of those pieces of the puzzle together to assign the final pathologic TNM stage.
Let's break down the T category. It's really a story of size and invasion. PT1 and PT2 are defined purely by size, as long as the tumor is still confined to the pancreas. But things change at PT3. That's when the tumor is either bigger than 4 centimeters or it's broken out of the pancreas to invade the duodenum or the bile duct. And PT4, that's the big one, reserved for when it's invading major organs or huge vessels.
Now, the N category for these tumors is thankfully nice and simple. It's a yes or no question. PN0 means you looked and found 0 positive regional lymph nodes. PN1 means you found at least 1. It might seem simple, but for the patient, that jump from PN0 to PN1 is a massive deal for their prognosis.
So, after all of this work, the grossing, the counting, the staining, the staging, all these details, what's the one thing that matters most? Of all the factors we've just gone through, what is the single biggest determinant of whether a patient survives long-term?
And here it is straight from the source. The answer is crystal clear. Complete resection of tumor is a strong determinant of long-term survival. This is why what we do is so incredibly important. Every detail in our report, especially that final call on the margins, is what tells the clinical team if they achieve that complete resection. It's what gives the patient the clearest possible look at their future.